Good morning, family. Today I felt led to talk to you guys about spiritual warfare. Today we're going to be discussing the incubus and succubus spirit. So, first of all, let's just talk about the origin of incubus and succubus. So, first off, before I even start to discuss this, I want you guys to know that the Bible does not say incubus spirit or succubus spirit. Okay, it doesn't call out those spirits. A lot of times, people that talk about spiritual warfare or different types of spirits, they kind of get a bad rap because they make up a lot of different names for different spirits that aren't biblical. I do want to give these people a little bit of grace, however, because there are a lot of very complex things in scripture, and a lot of times we do make up a certain name for the framework, you know. So for example, like the word Trinity. The word Trinity is not in the Bible, or the word rapture. It's not in the Bible. But scholars and people that study the Bible have used, things in the Bible, and they've taken and organized certain ideas and put it under a framework and given it a name. So let's talk about incubus and succubus, and let's keep that in mind as we talk about it, because there's nowhere in the scripture where you will find those terms. But you do find information about spiritual warfare. You find information about spiritual attacks. And so it's very important to be aware of it. So let's get into this. So, historically, an incubus was believed to be a male demonic being that sexually attacked women during sleep, while the succubus was believed to be the female demonic being that attacked men. These ideas came in the Middle Ages. Christians really adopted these ideas and used them in their spiritual understanding during the Middle Ages. But the idea of these spiritual things or phenomenon goes way back in ancient times. Ancient people talked about these type of experiences as well. An incubus and succubus experience generally happens during what we call sleep paralysis. That's like the clinical term. So, what is sleep paralysis? We have to define that, because believe it or not, a lot of people have not experienced a sleep paralysis episode. And so, when you try to explain these things or talk to someone about them, you get a funny look, or people will think that's strange or you're crazy. Like, sleep paralysis is a very rare experience. But what is it? So, sleep paralysis is when your body is slowly going to sleep and your body is having a hard time transitioning into like your REM sleep patterns. Like, you're going between the sleep patterns. And what's happening though, at the simplest level, no biology, no science terms, at the simplest level, your body is falling asleep first. Your mind is still awake. It's still cognate. It knows what's going on. You can think. You can open your eyes. You can see the room, but you cannot move because your body is already transitioned into that sleep mode. In that, of course, you can't move, you're paralyzed. But the things that happen during that state is what I am focusing on in this video. And this is when people experience that incubus and that succubus. That's what they're calling it. And so let's get into it, the meat of the video. So, the incubus and succubus experience, it happens during the sleep transition between sleeping and waking or waking and sleeping. The person may feel partially awake, but their body is still asleep. It can occur as a nightmare. It can occur, you can have sleep paralysis and nothing happened, but you just can't move and you just wait it out. Like there's no terror, no scariness, no oppression. Like you can just be in a sleep paralysis state without any negative spiritual things happening. So, but for the purposes of this video, there is usually an intense fear and threat during this time. A person feels very afraid. You feel like someone is there. You feel a presence. You feel very vulnerable. You feel like something is trying to attack you. You could feel your body going into like fight or flight. You can feel your heart beating fast. It's just a very, very scary, heightened, terrifying feeling. What heightens that is the inability to move or speak. So you feel like you're being held down, you're pinned down. There's a pressure on your chest or on your whole body. Like you feel pressure. You try to move, you try to yell, you try to wake up, but you can't. So these feelings are what people in like science and the medical field would call sleep paralysis. Old timers would say the witch is riding your back. So when I first started experiencing these types of things, I was, very young, and I would try to tell my family, like some of my older, people in the family about it. And they would say, "Oh, the witch was riding your back tonight." I'm like, "Okay, but what is it?" I was very curious about this. So the next thing, and this is what makes it, or this is why people call it an incubus or a succubus. It's because of the sexual component. So there can be sexual sensations. There can be that feeling of bondage. There can be sexual dream imagery, the feeling of being touched or violated, arousal, sometimes nocturnal emissions. Just that feeling, though, of an unwanted sexual experience. And that is very, very important because this is what people are calling an incubus or succubus experience. It is when a person is experiencing sleep paralysis, they're also experiencing an unwanted sexual experience during that. Okay. So let's see. So people will report feeling like they're struggling. They're trying to like get this presence away from them. Some Christians will report like praying, calling out to Jesus, trying to speak his name during this. Just, trying to end the attack because it's an extreme oppressive feeling. But another thing that happens with this is you feel drained the next day. There's difficulty returning to sleep. There's a lot of fear and anxiety around sleeping. It continues during the next day because there's not a lot of information about this. So it builds up fear inside of you. So the next day, or the next night when you have to go to sleep, you feel afraid. Is this going to happen to me again? It can make you tired during the daytime. Just an ongoing snowball effect of fear and terror that started at night and now it's in the day, and it's taking away from your peace. And so that, my family, is what Christians are referring to when they say an incubus or succubus experience. So in the next video, I want to actually go further and break down the spiritual implications of this and why we know that it is evil, it's not of God, and also some scriptures that we can use as our foundation if you're experiencing this. And also, if you're experiencing this, please just put it in the chat so we can be praying for you, because you need to know that it does get better. God can deliver you from this. I will say, when I was experiencing this, it was like my early 20s, and I experienced it pretty much through some of my early 30s, and then it stopped. But the more that I leaned into science and what people said about it, there was no deliverance. There was no healing. When I pressed into what God said about it, when I realized that it was a spiritual attack, um, all of the power to make me be afraid and fearful, all of that was broken because I now knew it was spiritual and I trust in the Lord. So I hope that this video helps to shed some light and help you to understand what incubus and succubus is. All right, family, until next time, be blessed.